So, whilst data collection lasted 1 year, the period was straddled by a model of change which I held as a counsellor, a practitioner, in my practice, which has evolved consistently throughout. In the thesis, I have tracked the core evolutions of this model over 4 stages. These were 4 chapters of my thesis. It begins with the migration of the client between I positions, tracked by the emergence of innovative moments in their self-narratives, which, if encouraged by the therapist, may blossom. The second key evolution came late into the data collection period, where I took a longitudinal model of change, essentially the trans-theoretical model of behavioural change offered by Prochaska, De Clemente, and Norcross, and I superimposed or mapped this structure onto the original concept of migration between I positions. In the thesis, I narrate a very satisfying session with my clinical supervisor, where we explore this together. As well as being a supervisor, Steve is also a sculptor and offered the beautiful idea that these theories were like the armatures used to construct clay figurines like this horse. When it is time for the clay to be fired, the armature is removed. It has served its useful purpose. It was a reminder to me as a therapist about holding my theories lightly. The third evolution only occurred as the data collection window was closing. I was at a memorial service for my dad, and the passage from the Bible was about a seed that must die in order to bear its fruit. The image reminded me of the caterpillar, which dissolves itself in its cocoon to become a butterfly, or of the mythical Ouroboros, the serpent that eats itself. The form reflected the way I was taking the raw materials of my research project and reformulating them through new theory, and the way my clients might take the raw materials of their experience and reformulate them through the discovery of new cognitive maps. The final evolution came about in the context of dreams I had been having about my dad occupying different realms, a physical realm and a spiritual realm. I brought myself, for the first time, to listen to a piano piece he had recorded just before he died, of my twin children, his grandchildren. I understood the language of the piece. It was such a dialogue between us, one of us living, one of us dead. This understanding of dialogue reflected my growing understanding of the subtle subtext that might have been present in the therapeutic relationship with each client, what might have been communicated between us. So finally, to offer a 3-stage model of change which is evidenced in the thesis. Essentially, I observed my clients to experience 3 essential states, both within and external to the therapeutic process, which drove their experiences of change. The little Venn diagram at the top demonstrates that there's no sequential relationship between these, but that they are mutually reinforcing. Identification is where the clients took ownership or responsibility for their own parts in problematic patterns of relation. This is my part. This is what I'm doing. Carl Rogers spoke about a key change event where problems are no longer perceived as exterior to the person. I regard identification as priming my clients for opportunities for behavioural change and new experiences. Bridging is essentially a state of lucidity, where the client recognises that this is one of those moments we've been talking about in therapy, and thus takes an opportunity to experience or perform something differently. These experiences can be profound learning experiences, like crossing a threshold. Then finally, mapping, which is at the core of my thesis, where the client reflects on those emergent experiences, their emergent I position, and identifies the cognitions and behaviours which are congruent within that wider cognitive map. This is similar to the work of thickening in narrative therapy or rescripting in transactional analysis. And that's all I have to share with you today. I hope you found the material here interesting and perhaps even applicable to your own client work. I'm happy to continue the discussion further. Thank you for tuning in.